my family said, "You're not welcome at Christmas. It's only for parents now." Those words didn't just land, they knocked the air out of me. One second, I was standing in my parents' warm kitchen. The next, I was staring at people I'd loved my whole life as they quietly erased me from the holiday table. No argument, no hesitation, just a clean cut. I didn't cry, I didn't beg. I simply smiled, small, sharp, and dangerous, because the moment they shut that door, something else opened. And what happened next? None of them were remotely prepared for. Before I continue, hit that like button and drop your city in the comments. And if you've ever been pushed aside by the people who should have protected you, tell me your words make this space feel a little less lonely. My name is Lydia, and for most of my life, I thought I understood where I belonged. I'm 34, a pediatric nurse practitioner, the kind of person who remembers birthdays, brings soup when someone's sick, and shows up to every school play my niece and nephew have ever been in. I've built a quiet, steady life in a small house on a quiet street in the city, just me and my rescue dog Cooper. And until this year, I honestly believed that being present, being loving, being dependable, that was enough to matter in my family. But looking back, the signs were always there. My dad, Harold, has this old-fashioned loyalty to the way families should work, and in that version, parents sit at the center. My mom, Elaine, spent decades teaching elementary school and still treats holidays like their classroom projects, everything for the kids first. My sister, Melissa, follows whatever makes mom happy. And my brother, Brandon, well, he used to be my best friend growing up, but marriage and 2 kids turned him into someone who avoids conflict like it's a job. And then there's Valerie, my sister-in-law. Perfect hair, perfect nails, perfect smile, sharp enough to slice through skin. She has this way of pretending she's being kind while planting a knife between your ribs. She's the one who cornered me at Thanksgiving with that fake, sweet, pity-drenched tone. But she wasn't the only problem. The real wound came when my own parents agreed with her. Quietly, easily. Like excluding me was the most natural thing in the world. Maybe it hurt so much because Christmas used to be my anchor. When I was a kid, the whole house smelled like cinnamon and butter as Mom baked cookies. Brandon and I would sneak bits of dough when she wasn't looking. Melissa would twirl in front of the tree, hoping someone would notice her new dress. It wasn't perfect, but it felt safe. It felt like ours. And after my divorce 3 years ago, the kind that folds your life in half and forces you to rebuild from scraps my family wrapped around me. Or at least I thought they did. I showed up to everything. I poured every spare ounce of love into Oliver and Lily because they're innocent and they adore me without condition. So when Valerie delivered that line, "Christmas is only for parents now," and my parents nodded like I should have seen it coming, it didn't feel like a schedule change. It felt like an eviction, a verdict, a quiet confirmation of something I'd been afraid of for a long time in their eyes. I was incomplete. I left early that night blaming a headache. Cooper greeted me at the door like he could sense the crack inside me widening. I cried until my throat ached. But when morning came, something in me had shifted. They didn't want me at their Christmas. Fine. I would build a new one they'd never forget. I woke up the next morning with my pillow still damp. Cooper curled against my legs like he was guarding what was left of me. For a few seconds I lay there, waiting for the familiar ache to pull me under again. But instead, I felt something steadier rise to the surface. Clarity, maybe? Or the sharp edge of self-respect finally cutting through the fog. My house was quiet. Soft winter light seeped through the blinds, turning everything pale and cold. I made coffee, wrapped both hands around the mug, and stood in the kitchen where the silence felt cleaner than the night before. No accusations, no pity, no Valerie. And somewhere between the first and second sip, the thought arrived fully formed. I don't have to accept this. I don't have to shrink just because it makes them more comfortable. I opened my laptop, meaning only to distract myself, but the search bar was already waiting like my subconscious had done the work overnight. Christmas getaway, solo holiday travel, Caribbean cruises in December. And then I saw it, a 12-day holiday cruise leaving Miami on December 20th. Photos of a sleek white ship, glowing pools, turquoise water sun bleeding across the horizon like warm honey. Private balconies, 5 restaurants, a spa that looked like heaven with dim lighting and soft robes. I clicked through every detail, heart-pounding in a way it hadn't in months. When I reached the booking page, my fingers hovered over the keyboard. This was reckless, expensive, impulsive. It was also the first thing that felt like mine. I smiled and booked a luxury cruise instead. Yes, I actually said it out loud when I hit the final button. And it felt good, dangerous even. Like reclaiming something I hadn't realized I'd given away. The next 48 hours turned into a quiet, private transformation. I got my hair done, not the practical trim I usually get, but warm highlights that made my reflection look like someone who knew her worth. I bought sundresses in soft colors I'd never let myself wear, a deep green gown that made me feel like the main character, new sandals, a swimsuit that felt daring but right. People at the salon complimented me. The woman at the boutique said, "You look radiant," and for once I believed it. Meanwhile, my family continued acting like nothing had happened. My mom texted a photo of some ornament the kids made. Brandon asked if I could come help wrap gifts, apparently forgetting he'd helped vote me off the island. Valerie sent a cheery group message about matching pajamas. Not one of them asked how I was. Not one apologized. They thought I'd accepted my place outside the circle. They had no idea I was already planning my escape. When I packed my suitcase a week later, I felt something close to peace. Not forgiveness, not yet. Just the calm that comes when you stop begging for love that should have been yours freely. As I zipped the bag shut, Cooper watched me with curious eyes like he sensed a shift. "Don't worry," I told him softly. "This year, Christmas is mine." The morning I left for Miami, the sky over the city was a soft, hazy gray, the kind that feels like a blank page. I loaded my suitcase into the back of the rideshare, locked the door behind me, and felt a quiet thrill rush through my chest. Not joy exactly, not yet. More like the first breath after holding it too long. At the port, the ship rose above the crowd like a gleaming white giant. People hurried around me with rolling bags and sun hats buzzing with holiday excitement. But I walked slowly, taking in every second. This wasn't a vacation, it was proof I didn't need permission to exist. When I stepped onto the deck, the ocean stretched out in a deep blue that made my chest loosen. I closed my eyes, breathed in the salt air, and let the ship's horn vibrate through me as we pulled away from Miami. Far below, the city shrank until it was just a blur of lights against the morning sky. The first night I slipped into my emerald dress and headed to dinner alone. People smiled at me, not the pitying kind I'd gotten used to, but the curious, warm kind you give someone who looks like she's finally living. Caleb, Ruth, and Noah were seated at my table, and by dessert we were laughing like old friends. No judgment, no questions about why I was alone. Just acceptance. After dinner, I stepped onto my private balcony. Lights twinkled across the surface of the water, and the air was warm enough to feel like a gentle hand on my skin. I lifted my phone, snapped a photo, the dress, the sea, the glow of the ship behind me, and posted it with a simple caption, "Choosing myself this Christmas." And then it began. When I posted photos from the deck, their messages didn't stop coming. My phone buzzed so fast I thought something broke. "Mom, Lydia, this seems excessive." "Brandon, wow. Didn't know you were going anywhere." "Melissa, are you okay? Why didn't you tell us Valerie interesting choice for the holidays?" I didn't answer. Not yet. I posted another photo the next morning, just the ocean and my coffee, and the buzzing started again. Longer messages now, edgier, more frantic. "Mom, people are asking why you're not here." "What do you want us to tell them, Valerie?" "You're making this weird. Christmas is supposed to be peaceful." "Brandon, maybe tone it down." "Dad is confused." "Tone it down." The irony nearly made me laugh out loud. Later that afternoon, Ava called from Seattle. "Lydia, you look incredible," she said before I could say anything. "And they're losing their minds, aren't they?" Should I feel bad? I asked, even though I knew the answer. "No, you didn't create this. You're just not hiding from it anymore." Her words sank deep. I wasn't acting out, I was acting free. That night on the deck, the wind warm against my skin, I realized something important. My absence wasn't ruining their Christmas. It was exposing it, and this was only the beginning. The first real shift happened in St. Thomas. I woke to sunlight pouring through my balcony curtains, the kind that makes the ocean look like liquid glass. I slipped into a turquoise sundress, grabbed my beach bag, and joined the excursion group heading toward the island. White sand, warm breeze, water so clear I could see each grain beneath my feet. I took a photo, just my legs stretched toward the shoreline, sunlight glittering across the water, and posted it with the caption, "Merry Christmas to me." Within minutes, my phone exploded. "Mom, this isn't necessary. Melissa, why are you doing this? The kids miss you. Brandon. Mom is upset. Can you please stop posting every detail, Valerie? This feels spiteful." Spiteful. The woman who uninvited me was calling me spiteful. Still, I didn't reply. I just let the island wind dry the salt in my hair and listened to waves erase footprints behind me. For the first time in years, I felt lighter than the tide. That night at dinner, Caleb caught me staring at my buzzing phone. Family, he guessed. Unfortunately, he didn't pry. He just nodded the way people do when they've lived through their own storms. "Well," he said, lifting his glass to choosing peace when chaos wants your attention. I clinked my glass against his. I didn't say it out loud, but I felt it. I wasn't alone. The next stop was St. Martin, a catamaran tour. Sun on my shoulders, salt on my skin. Turtles gliding beneath us like ancient, gentle spirits. I slipped into the water, floated on my back, and stared at the sky until I felt something soften inside me. When a sea turtle surfaced beside me, I laughed, a sound I hadn't heard from myself in a long time. I filmed a short clip of it swimming past. Posted it. Caption, "Better company than I expected today." This time the messages came faster. "Mom, Lydia, please call me. This is getting embarrassing." Valerie. "So you're just broadcasting this? Brandon Dad wants to know what's going on." Melissa. "The kids asked why you're not here." I didn't know what to say. Still, I didn't respond. Instead, I met my new friends for dinner. Ruth told stories about her late husband that made us laugh until we were wiping tears from our eyes. Noah described life in a crowded city kitchen. Caleb shared how freedom felt after years spent trying to fix what couldn't be fixed. Listening to them, something clicked into place. They weren't asking anything from me. They weren't defining my worth. They were just present. The next day, we docked in the Bahamas. The moment I stepped onto the pier, warm air and bright colors hit me like a bomb. I signed up for a dolphin experience, half expecting it to feel staged touristy. But when one of them, Luna, nudged her nose into my palm and chirped, I felt a surprising squeeze in my chest. Affection. Joy. The trainer snapped a photo right as Luna pressed her nose to my cheek. I looked happy, genuinely, effortlessly happy. I posted it. Caption. "She showed me more affection in 5 seconds than some people did all year." That set off a different kind of storm. "Mom, stop this. People are talking." Valerie. "Are you trying to make us look bad?" Brandon. "What do you want?" Lydia, seriously. Melissa. "Are you okay? I'm worried." Then came the one that almost cracked me. A message from Oliver, clearly typed from Melissa's phone. "Aunt Lydia, I miss you. Christmas is weird without you." I had to sit down. The deck beneath me blurred for a second as guilt and anger collided in my chest. The kids didn't deserve this. They didn't create this. But I typed back, "I miss you too, buddy. I'll see you soon." That was all I could handle. That night, I stood alone on the deck. Warm wind, glittering waves, stars spread like scattered salt above me. And for the first time, I wasn't thinking about who I'd disappointed. I was thinking about who had disappointed me. They excluded me, erased me, treated me like a half-formed version of a daughter because I didn't have kids. Why was I the one carrying all the guilt? The next morning, I woke to a message that wasn't frantic, it was quiet. "Mom, we need to talk when you get home." We went too far. I didn't reply, not yet. Letting someone feel consequences isn't cruelty. Sometimes it's the only language people hear. On New Year's Eve, the ship held a party beneath strings of white lights. I wore the gold dress I'd bought just for this trip. When I walked into the dining room, Caleb let out a low whistle. "You look like you survived something," he said. "I did," I answered, "and I think I'm finally done apologizing for it." At midnight, fireworks bloomed over the ocean, soundless at first, then cracking open the sky. I snapped a single photo of the reflection on the water and posted it with no caption, no explanation, no justification, just truth. When the ship docked in Miami on January 1st, my stomach tightened as I walked toward the arrivals area. I'd expected a car service, silence, space. Instead, I saw them, all of them, my parents, Brandon, Melissa, Valerie, the kids, waiting. Their faces were tight, exhausted, lined with the weight of 2 weeks spent confronting themselves. Brandon stepped forward first. "Lydia, can we talk?" I didn't answer. I walked past him through them until we reached the house where everything started, the place where they'd cut me out. We sat in the living room, the Christmas tree still up, ornaments reflecting the tension hanging in the air. Harold cleared his throat. "We were wrong," he said, voice trembling. "We hurt you. We didn't think." "No, I cut in. You didn't think of me. You thought of a version of family that didn't include who I actually am." Elaine wiped her eyes. "We're sorry, truly. We want to fix this." Valerie swallowed hard. "I shouldn't have said what I said. I acted like having kids made me superior. It was cruel." Melissa reached for my hand. "I should have stood up for you. I should have said something." I let their words hang there raw and heavy. Then I spoke. "I'm not incomplete. I'm not waiting for a family of my own to matter, and if I'm going to stay in this family, you'll treat me like I belong in it." Silence. Then slowly they nodded. Even Valerie. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't healed. But it was real. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough to start. When the apology settled into something real, the house felt different, lighter almost. The kids curled against me on the couch, chattering about their presents, and for the first time since Thanksgiving, I let myself breathe without bracing for the next bruise. In the days that followed, my parents made an effort I'd never seen before. My dad called just to ask how my day went. My mom stopped framing every conversation around grandchildren. Brandon invited me to dinner alone so we could talk without Valerie's shadow. Even Valerie apologized again, quieter, humbler, and gave me room instead of expectations. But the biggest shift was inside me. The cruise had done something I didn't expect. It taught me I was whole long before anyone realized it. I stopped waiting for their approval. I stopped shrinking to fit the version of family they preferred. I kept posting photos of sunsets, the green dress Cooper waiting by the door, not to provoke them, but because they were mine, my life, my joy. And slowly, my family learned to join me there without trying to control the view. When January settled in and the holiday glitter faded, I realized something simple but life-changing. The best revenge was never about making them hurt. It was about living in a way that made me impossible to overlook. I showed up to Oliver's birthday with a smile, not because everything was perfect, but because I was. My family treated me differently now, more carefully, more consciously, like they finally understood the cost of losing me. And maybe that's the real story here. You don't need to wait for permission to matter. You don't need to earn a seat at a table you helped build. If this story hit a little close to home, tell me where you're watching from. And if you've ever had to choose yourself when family failed, you share it below. Your voice might be exactly what someone else needs. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next story.